Fulano inició grabación.
Aquí sale que ya empezó a grabar, profe.
Ok, entonces déjame apago mi micrófono y apenas inicia el cronómetro puedes empezar, Laura.
Vale, profe, gracias. Okay, welcome everyone. I'm going to talk about the climate change, cause and consequence. Teacher, you can pass the next, please. Okay, climate change. The pollution is the presence of harmful substances or elements in the environment that can cause damage to living beings and the ecosystem. It can be caused by human activities or natural process and can affect different aspects of the environment, such as air, water, soil, and living things. There are different types of pollution, including air pollution caused by the emission of gases in particles such as carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxides, hydrocarbons, and fine particles. The water pollution caused by the emission of gases and particles such as carbon, chemicals, heavy metals, and other pollutants in water bodies. Soil pollution caused by improper waste disposal, excessive application of pesticides, and heavy metal contamination. Noise pollution caused by excessive noise generated by human activities such as traffic, construction, and industry. Light pollution caused by excessive emission of artificial light, which can alter natural patterns of light and darkness. Thermal pollution caused by the dumping of hot or cold water into bodies of water, which can alter the temperature and ecological balance. Teacher, the next one, please. The causes. It's important to mention that pollution can have negative effects on human health, fauna, and flora, so it is important to make measures to prevent and mitigate it. The next, please. The first cause is greenhouse gas emissions. The burning of fossil fuels such as oil, gas, and coal, as well as deforestation and intensive agriculture release large amounts of greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide, CO2, and methane, CH4, which traps heat in the atmosphere and contributes to the global warming. The next, please. The second one is deforestation. Cutting down and burning forests contributes to the release of carbon stored in streets and reduce the capacity of forests to absorb CO2. The next, please. Intensive agriculture. Large-scale food production involves the use of fertilizers and pesticides that emit greenhouse gases, as well as clearing forests to expand cropland. The next, please. Use of renewable energies. Although renewable energies are an excellent alternative to fossil fuels, their production and distribution can have negative environmental impacts, such as the occupation of land and the impact of ecosystems. The next, please. Industrial and technological development. Economic growth and technological advance have led to an increase in the production and consumption of goods and services, often resulting in increased greenhouse gas emission. The next, please. Change in consumption patterns. Population growth and rising standards of living in many countries have led to an increase in the consumption of natural resources and energy contributing to climate change. The next, please. Air and water pollution. Air and water pollution can contribute to climate change by releasing greenhouse gases and disrupting ecosystems. The next, please. Use of chemicals. The use of chemicals in agriculture, industry, and everyday life can contribute to climate change by releasing greenhouse gases and disrupting ecosystems. The next, please. Now we are going to talk about the consequence. Climate change has multiple consequences in different areas of the planet and society. Below are some of the most significant consequences. The next, please. First, increasing temperatures. Global warming is causing an increase in global average temperatures, which in turn generated more frequent and severe heat waves. The next, please. Change in precipitation patterns. Climate change is altering rainfall and drought patterns in different parts of the world, which can lead to floods, droughts, and loss in agriculture. The next, please. Sea level rise. Melting glaciers and ice caps are causing sea levels to rise, which can lead to coastal flooding, erosion, and evidence loss. The next, please. Species extinction. Climate change is affecting ecosystems and natural habitats, which can lead to extinction of species that cannot adapt to environmental changes. The next one, please. Health problems. Climate change can increase the spread of vector-borne disease such as dengue and malaria, in addition to generate respiratory and cardiovascular problems. The next, please. Food crisis. Climate change can reduce agriculture and livestock production, which can generate food crisis and food insecurity in different parts of the world. Then next, please. Loss of biodiversity. Climate change can lead to loss of biodiversity as ecosystems and species cannot adapt to environmental changes. The next, please. Increase in extreme weather events. Climate change can lead to an increase in the frequency and intensity of extreme weather events, such as hurricanes, typhoons, and severe storms. The next one. This is the last one, economic impact. Climate change can generate significant economic loss in different sectors, especially those related to agriculture. And this is all. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, I stopped sharing my screen, right? Because I'm not sure.
Sí, profe.
Okay, pretty good. So now it's time for your peers to ask you questions. So Norris, you are raising your hand, so I guess you want to ask a question to Laura. You can go ahead. Okay. Well, instead of
My
Norris,
question,
okay, dear Diana, go ahead.
my question is, what can we do to help reduce climate change?
Your mic.
Sorry, I can't. Yeah, sorry. In this case, we can reduce the water and recycling the washing machine and use it to wash different things, reduce the use of plastic, and maybe disconnect the chargers when you don't need them. Maybe you try to control the use to the electricity when you don't use the light in the room or in the bathroom. Uh, this is all, teacher. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, dear Diana, dear Laura. Now, dear Judy.
Okay, teacher. Are current measures sufficient to combat climate change?
Okay. I learn. No, I read about different studies, and they say it's really late to try to control the consequences about the contamination. But if all the people try to control this aspect, we can try to solve and try to I don't know how to say uh, um, delay the consequence about the climate change.
Okay, thank you. And that is your last opportunity, dear Norris, because it's almost 12 p.m. So you want to ask a question? Good now. Okay, I think Norris is having some kind of issues, so I will move on to provide you with your feedback. Let me here open my camera. Okay. Like considering your slides, the actual slides you use for your presentation, I think they were really pretty. Like the way you designed them was really pretty. Like using icons and icons that could move. I don't know how to call that in English, but icons like raining. We actually see the rain fall. So pretty good. The one thing I want to say about your presentation is that as you use like little test, it was difficult for you to use the presentation as support because, for example, as I was not seeing the meeting, but the presentation and your camera at the bottom of my phone, I noticed that you were using a draft you wrote because you were looking not to the camera but to another place. Okay, so it is important in these cases to use the presentations we design as support, not another kind of support. Okay, it is important to consider that. About let me here I wrote here about pronunciation. I wrote here some words you struggle with, like development, resources, climate. You say climate, but it's climate change, and multiple. comprehensible, environmental, biodiversity, some words you had troubles with. And about fluency, um, as you were reading the information you had in the other support source, um, it was not possible to like you sometimes talk without reading because I noticed sometimes you were not reading, but most of the time you were reading. So it is important to, in this kind of activities, as I mentioned previously to one of your peers, to some of your peers, it is important to engage in actual spontaneous interchange because in that way we can practice our fluency. So in this case, when you were not reading, you did great, I would say, because you could like stage your ideas, but as you were reading, like I just can base your grading mostly in your reading pace. About here I wrote about grammar, I could not evident like I could not notice some evident mistakes because yes, normally I think you use a really great vocabulary and grammar structures. There was just this case when you were answering the question that you could not remember a word and you used the translator. And remember, dear Laura, back in time during the weekly encounter sessions, I mentioned that to you that in this case, it is better to change the word or the idea you want to say instead of using the translator because in that way you can gain active vocabulary. I think that's all fluency, pronunciation, and grammar and vocabulary. Okay, dear Laura, thank you. Thank you very much for providing us with your presentation.
Thank you, teacher.
Let me stop the recording for you. Okay, dear Angelo, could you stop the recording because you were the one who started it?